Recently, I read an article in a large newspaper describing the condition of teachers in a particular state, a condition that I have found to be true in every state that I've read about. So I just chose this one state newspaper as an example. And they said, quote, "Too many school teachers quit the profession because they burn out. They receive little support from parents or administrators." I know a lot of teachers, and I've read a lot of articles about school teachers, and they all say something like that: burnout, burnout. And we talk about burnout, and we talk about potential solutions, and we're not finding them because nobody's seeing the common thread. Dang it. Listen to the two sources that offer little support to teachers, according to this article and pretty much everything else I've read. They say teachers experience little support from, first, parents, and then second, administrators, which again is about parents. Because if a child is correctly taught or disciplined by a teacher, the child whines to his parents, who don't know how to unconditionally love their child. So instead of loving their kid, they win the child's approval by coddling the child and siding with them as they complain then to the administrator, who then pressures the teacher to ease up on the child. See the common thread here in teachers being unsupported? Parents, because parents either complain directly or indirectly through the administrators. That's how easy it is. And this is where I can help you and support you to become an effective parent. Click the like, subscribe, and bell buttons, and you'll be notified when I've posted carefully designed videos that will give you a guaranteed advantage with your family and everybody else in your life. Back to the parents. School is so stressful to teachers that nationwide, 50% of new teachers drop out within 3 years. Can you imagine a business running like that? So a business within 3 years of hiring trained professionals. This isn't people to run forklifts and stock shelves, which are essential jobs. I'm just talking about professionals here. What if 1/3 of surgeons dropped out after, or 50% of surgeons dropped out after 3 years? We wouldn't have any surgeons. And we'd be constantly replenishing the supply of surgeons with people who don't know what they're doing. I was a surgeon for 20 years. You don't want to be operated on by the guy who's been in practice for 6 months. You don't want your children to be taught by a teacher who's been there for 6 months. There are some good ones, yes. But with more experience, they get better. And we're weeding out half of them in no time at all. In the one state described by the article, 1/3 of teachers leave at the end of their first year. Like I said, how can you run a business that way? How can we educate our children that way? Our children are always being exposed to brand new teachers with no experience, or teachers who are afraid to teach the students and are on their way out. It's a tumult in the schools. It's an uproar. It's a mess. The article states that the interviews, they conducted a bunch of interviews of all the teachers who are leaving the job. And here are a few quotes from some of them. I just took them in order. I didn't cherry pick them. The teacher said, "I was asked to do so much every day as a part of my job, and it was exhausting. I left every day feeling like I'd been hit by a bus," end quote. The biggest burden teachers carry is the pain that children bring from home to school. They all talk about it. You might wonder, so am I suggesting that everything is about parenting? Yeah, pretty much. Yes. Because if you're not taught correctly when you're a child by your parents at home, you've pretty much established the pathways that are just going to screw things up for the rest of your life. Children raised in unconditionally loving homes simply don't act out at school. You want me to say that again? Children raised in unconditionally loving homes don't act out at school. Well, look at the other half. Children who don't feel loved react to their emotional pain all day with anger, complaining, teasing, bullying, defiance, interrupting, not listening, all the stuff that, just destroys teaching in the classroom. And that makes it very difficult to learn, and it makes teaching them very difficult for the teachers, who then burn out. Because of what? Because of the pain the child brings from home, where they were not loved and taught by who? We're back to the word again, parents. Not joking. Another teacher said, quote, "I think the major piece of my burnout was not feeling valued." Teachers are given the responsibility for healing a lifetime of wounds for every child. That's the bottom line. That's why teachers burn out. They're dealing with kids who are wounded for a lifetime at home by their parents, and then they're expected to heal them. Impossible. Teachers are essentially raising these kids. They're the surrogate parents. And who values this in teachers? Whoever says to the teacher, "Thank you for parenting my impossible child, the child that I did not parent at home." I doubt that a teacher's ever heard those words. I've never met a teacher who's heard those words. And the teacher feels the burden and feels the lack of appreciation, or what this particular teacher called being valued. Another teacher says, quote, "I've had many parents tell me exactly how they feel I should be running my classroom or handling situations with their students or with their kids." So teachers are given first the responsibility for healing the pain caused by the parents, and then the parents come along and complain about how the teachers do it. Anybody getting the irony of this? So we want you to parent our child who we haven't parented. Oh, and then we're going to sit by and tell you how you should have done it, even though we have never parented the child in the first place. That's what's happening in schools. It's not a teacher problem or an administrator problem. It's not a societal problem, unless you call parenting a societal problem, but it's not. Parenting is an individual problem with you as a parent, with me as a parent. I'm not blaming you. I'm saying we parents really stink at our jobs, and then we want the teachers to make up for it. Yeah, that's a little bit unfair, I think. Another teacher, quote, "I felt that I was not supported regarding inappropriate student behavior. I had a student become somewhat physical with me on 3 separate occasions." Physical. "And nothing was done to correct that behavior or support me in the matter." Astonishing. Why did this teacher get no support? Because the administrators are afraid of the parents, who only know how to spoil and enable their children. They don't know how to unconditionally love their children and teach them. The parents don't. And this is not the fault of the teacher. It's also not the fault of the parent. We're not learning how to love and teach our kids, but you're here right now, so you're learning. We're going to do something about this and teach the parents how to raise their kids. Another teacher said, the first thing they do is to blame the teachers for problems. Yeah, they all do. They, who blame the teachers, are the government, the administrators, the reporters, the parents, the everybody. In the thousands of articles that I've read about social and educational problems, nobody is making the parents responsible for the behavior of their children. What? This would be like talking about drunk driving and blaming alcohol, the producers of alcohol, the bars, the police, the administrators, the government, and not talking about, maybe it's the fault of the person who is drinking. We're all afraid to make parents responsible because we don't know how to parent. We don't know the solution. It is commonly referred to, parenting, as the third rail of social commentary. You touch the third rail, you're electrocuted and die. We don't want to address this because you want to infuriate a parent-teacher conference, organization, a school administrators meeting. Stand up and say it's all the fault of the parents. You'll be lynched. And why lynched? People wouldn't be angry if you stood up and said, all the parents in the room are broccoli. Nobody'd be mad because they know they're not broccoli. But if you stand up and say something that has an element of truth, all of you are not doing your jobs. Oh, that strikes a nerve because it's true. And so we don't address it. So after learning about how teachers are burning out from raising our children, what can you do to raise your own children? What can you do to support teachers who are helping your kids to learn in school. Be better parents yourself. Be better support for the teachers. Be better support for your kids. You can learn how to send your children to school emotionally prepared. You can learn how to send them prepared academically and socially. You can learn how to teach them how to love others and how to be responsible. You can learn all this. You can learn how to love and teach your children by going to reallove.com. The answers are there.